He says the life review, in the way that he experienced it, as he put this into words, is very interesting because he's showing me these circles. So the ancestors are tall lights, if I can explain this correctly. They're tall lights, and it's like we're going down a pathway with the stars going past us. And as he moves forward, there are these rings, and these rings are white looking. And as he goes through them, it's, if he zooms me in, it looks like photographs. He is showing me and saying to you that there was a suddenness. There's a suddenness to him. So it was very quick. So he says that when he first had the awareness of being out of his body, even though, because he's showing me losing the humanness, this lifetime, he says, was planting the physical seeds to then water it and make it grow. He's showing me the sunflower, to make it grow with my mom, because the whole journey has been a partnership with her soul. And so he says, Mom, that is why it's so important that we are doing this and what you are sharing, because embodying more of the higher soul, he's seeing many leaders to help the transition. Oh, okay. To answer your question, he is in the 12th dimension. He wants to explain it as the dimensions and realms as being more expansive than as levels. He says the dimensional spaces are holding all of the stories of the universe. They're holding all of the information. And so the more.
Hi, this is Akanksshaa. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul Podcast and a Talk Show. On this show, we talk about deep spiritual and mystical experiences of people which we normally shy away talking about. We are more than our physical body. We are spiritual beings on a human journey, and we discuss how a soul exists on multiple dimensions. We discuss science, technology, and spirituality point of views and perspectives on this show. Our purpose is to open our minds to limitless possibilities and our hearts to love and shine the light within bright. Hello, everyone. A very happy Valentine's Day. Today it's a special episode for me. It's so close to my heart and soul. This is the episode where we had live conversations with my son Arnav, who crossed over in 2020 and who is now my spirit guide and guides me from beyond the veil. We've had channeler Michelle Gray from Canada channeling Arnav. And this is a two-part conversation. So do watch both the parts. When Arnav was a kid, when he was in kindergarten and later in elementary school, we were in the US. And there, the teachers used to tell kids, the boys, to make Valentine's Day cards for moms. And Arnav used to make very beautiful handmade, hand-drawn Valentine's Day cards for me. He used to make them on Mother's Day and birthday as well. And they're so precious, I have preserved them. In February 2020, when it was COVID, he just went out and for a bit and bought a rose for me. And he gave me that rose, and that photograph is there on the thumbnail. And he said, Mom, I used to make cards when I was a kid for you on Valentine's Day. And I don't do that anymore. I don't even wish you. So I just thought that I will get this rose for you. He's absolutely adorable, such a sweetheart. And I was so happy to receive that from him. So whenever there is Valentine's Day, I remember about
Arnav's love. Valentine's Day is not just about romantic love. It is about divine unconditional love. And that continues, that is eternal, that is not limited to this physical body. And he reminds me all the time about that. So much of love pouring through whenever he connects. And the channelers who have come on my talk show, they have felt it. And Michelle also felt it so strongly, the love and the light, golden light that he exudes. And he is in a very high dimension, in a very high realm, very close to the source. And we were so fortunate and blessed to have this conversation with him. I do channel him and I do get downloads from him through dreams, meditations, and other signs. But this was a live conversation. Michelle is a medium and a channeler for many years, and she did this conversation channeling Arnav. She's been channeling Eric, who, similar to Arnav, crossover when he was very young. And what I understand is Eric and Arnav are connected in the higher realms. And she also channeled Source directly, the Source, God. This conversation was very light and full of love, but at the same time, it was tough at times because he is my child and I am his mom and I'll always be his mom. So I felt like crying many times, and even Michelle had tears in her eyes. But I have worked so much on myself during the last 4 years on healing myself, consciously working on myself, that I am able to talk without breaking down. I hope you can feel that love and that light and that bliss beyond my grief. So, this is a Valentine's gift from Arnav and me to all of you, to spread that light and love and to awaken that divine love and light within you and to empower yourself with that divinity within you. There is lots and lots of love that Arnav and Michelle and I have poured in this conversation. And I hope you feel that love too. So, once again, a very happy Valentine's Day. Take care and love yourself. Bye. We have with us today Michelle Gray, who is an intuitive healer, channeler, medium, and spirit art channeler. A very warm welcome, Michelle, on Multidimensional Soul Talk Show and a podcast. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here with you. This is great.
Yeah. Can you tell our audience about your journey? How did you get into healing and channeling and especially mediumship?
Well, like many of us that are on the healing journey and have been able to open up our hearts, my childhood, a very average childhood, but I definitely had some spiritual experiences when I was younger and in my family. And they didn't go too far outside of our home because I noticed very quickly that when I would speak about them to different people, even with friends, it was laughed at, or, it was just wasn't something that people were willing to listen to. So I learned very quickly to keep those things to myself. And throughout the years, I definitely was very drawn to spirituality, to life after death. So I would go through books and movies and videos and research all these things in my spare time. And I was so drawn to it. And I would have dreams that would be, we would say there would be prophetic type dreams, that I would dream about people in our family. I would dream about different events. And really the only people I would tell would be my parents. I would tell them dreaming about somebody that had passed away or that I thought was going to pass away. And it wasn't until after my grandmother passed when I was 17 that she had come to me in a dream 2 days after she'd passed. And she showed me, um, was a great big kitchen, and she was showing me these dishes, and she was scooping ice cream, and it was just a place I didn't ever recognize her in. So I went to my mother the next day and I shared with her this dream and told her she had come to me. And my mother described the place that she was in as a restaurant that she had worked in and that she ran with my grandfather, that of course we had never seen pictures of or knew anything about. So it was a pretty validating moment to have that dream. So fast forward my life, eventually I got married and had kids, and I really put a lot of spiritual practices to the side. I was not doing anything except for I had a bit of an intuition that I knew was fairly strong, but I was scared of it. I was scared of knowing things. I had a lot of fear. I was afraid of everything happening. I was very reactive, and my emotions were all over the place. And not realizing at the time that was really the thorn in my side that had held me back and created a lot of issues and a lot of pain for myself and in my relationships. So it was 2007. I had gotten very sick and I was diagnosed with spinocerebellar ataxia, which is a like MS. It's a hereditary disease in my family. And I was I, tired all the time, difficulty with balance. And this is something that usually affects family members a little later, a little older. Throughout that, I created some issues in my body with gallbladder issues and extreme pain. The long story short is that I was prescribed a very high amount of opiates. And what I noticed throughout taking the opiates was I started to feel like I was normal. I was able to function, but what was happening was it was dulling all my emotions. It was disconnecting me. Not realizing this at the time, I just continued. I was addicted. I didn't even really think, could a person be addicted to through prescription medicine? So I just kept asking for more and more and more, and eventually it, was dulling pain in the body, dulling pain in my emotions until I was at my top level of um, a very high and unbelievable dosage. I had a surgery, and after that, I was left with an addiction that could have ended my life at that time. And why this is so important is that I wrote a letter to God and I said, help me get out of this addiction. I'll do anything. I'll start to, and I always felt in my heart that I wanted to be of service. So show me the way and I will do this. And I had a Bible and I slipped it in the Bible and closed it. Well, I did get through that addiction. Things did get better. And I had forgotten about my promise. And I just set it aside and went about my way. And 2 years after that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I had a 7x7 tumor in my left breast that had already spread through my lymph nodes. And that was, at that moment, that was facing my mortality. That was, everything came to a crashing halt. Everything that I'd seen in my life where I had put so much attention into my hair, my clothes, the vehicle I drove. I had racked up credit cards. I had gotten myself into quite a mess at that point and was trying to balance everything. And with that diagnosis, it all came crumbling down. And I say it was like being stripped of all of the physical things, losing my hair, going through that whole process that humbled me to a point where I couldn't ignore it. And that truly was the greatest gift that could have ever happened, because that was able to bring me within myself to start to truly look at what I know now as where I wasn't taking responsibility for myself, where I wasn't I wasn't, I'll say my heart knew things that my mind had different ideas, and it was time to get into alignment with that. And that's where I began the process of looking inwards and starting to research. I was looking at near death experiences and all kinds of things in that nature. So I spent about a year in my hospital bed, and I studied. I started to study quantum physics. I started to study the power of the mind, the power of belief, positivity, all of those things. And I was really looking for the science of it. Like, how could we create different? Through that, what also started happening was my intuition got stronger, and I started to meditate. And that meditation started to bring me some very interesting experiences that I would see things, hear things, I was receiving messages. And so I began over the course of this time a spiritual practice of pulling cards and, really looking for validation of what was happening to me. And throughout that, we had a few family members pass, and that's where Eric comes in, because I was scrolling on the internet one day and I was looking for information about the afterlife, and up pops someone's blog, not channeling Eric, it was another person's blog, and it said my spirit guide Eric, this person was talking about. I was like, spirit guide? What's a spirit guide? No idea what a spirit guide was. And I'm like, named Eric. Well, this is interesting. So I started to follow and look, and that's how I found channeling Eric. Well, it was maybe 2 days after that Eric started to come to see me. And I was in this process of, could this be real? Is this really happening? So there was a little bit of back and forth with that. And I've told many of these stories many times, but through the process of my own validation, and he showed me in many different ways that yes, he was there. And so he worked with me from 2015 until 2017, where he said to me, he told me to keep writing everything down. He says, you're going to work with my mom, but you're going to work with my mom when she has a bunch of mediums. It's not going to be just you. And I thought, okay, I'm I'm in Canada, she's in the US. I have no idea how this is coming together. I don't know anybody. I don't know any other mediums. And through a process, he led me to different people and how to speak to different people. And it all just was one opportunity after another. And eventually, a message had got to his mom, and she messaged me and said, would you like to meet me and channel Eric and see if you're a good match? And the rest is history. That's where it all began in my healing journey, and everything else has unfolded as a process from that time.
Wow, what an incredible journey, and so much filled with courage. You've gone through so much hardship and terminal diseases, and rising up from that with so much courage. When you started doing these meditations and started studying quantum physics and belief systems and all, and you said that you were in bed for 1 year, which itself is a lot to digest. Did you have any guidance from any physical teachers, or how did you embark on this journey? What kind of meditations did you learn? And because many times what happens is people wait that, okay, some master or some guru has to come and teach me. But all that knowledge is actually within us. But at that time, we don't realize. So, how was that journey for you?
Yes. When I first started meditating, what I was looking for was, I went on YouTube and started searching meditation. And at that point, I was following my intuition. I was just being guided, and I just felt this is the right thing to listen to. This is the right thing to look at. And so I remember putting on meditation music, and it was binaural beats. and I'd done a little studying with sound and binaural beats, and that it could help you with your nervous system and help you elevate your consciousness. So I thought, that looks good. And I was feeling so much stress and anxiety that my goal was to start to settle that down and achieve that same energy that I had started when I had my addiction, of being able to calm things down and do this as natural as I could. So it was laying in bed with earphones at nighttime, and I had 3 kids, and one of them was 2 years old. So it was just finding that time that I could just get alone, where I could just sit quietly. And at first it was the feeling. I would get sensations. I would just feel a little lighter or feel a little calmer, and it would actually help me for the next couple hours in my day. So I would begin to, keep going to it. And I remember the first time I saw something, it was the word surrender that came up in front of me, just in big block letters. And it rolled like a computer, and it stopped. And I remember saying right out loud, surrender what? What? I don't get it. But from that point, I knew that I needed somebody in the physical just to connect with, to help validate. And I found a church. It was actually a spiritual church in our town, and I was led to a woman, and I was shown actually a pin. It was a bunch of synchronicities of knowing where to follow and where to go. And I actually sat in the seat of this woman's, where she would sit every week in this church. I sat in her seat. So she came right up to me and said, "You're in my seat." and that's how we met each other. And so I made friendship with her, and she shared information with me to help validate some of what I was experiencing. But most importantly, this came from her, as well as feeling it in myself, that this is a journey that no one else can tell me how it's going to go. Is learning that intuition and that creative process in myself, and learning that I'm going to hear many different things on the outside of me. And it's not for me to take all of those things as the truth or my truth, that I have to do that, but to really follow what I feel aligned with. And that's what I did. And that's the process. So I did meet people, and it would sometimes be for a short bit, and would move on somewhere else when that was over, and made friends with different people. But that was really the core of my teaching, because I felt led by source, the angels, the spirits that were helping me. They were my teachers, of teaching me the guidance that is already within me, as you said.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And it's so important for us to remember that there is guidance available from the spirit realm. And very few people actually, now it is coming to forefront, but people don't even know that we have designated spirit guides and guardian angels. And it's so
That's
important
right.
for people
That's
to
right.
know that they are there to help us and
Yes.
lead us through our journey, literally hand holding us, giving us signs and synchronicities. So, yeah,
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
So can we channel my son Arnav now?
We sure can. He's here. He's here, and his presence is here. And was sharing with you earlier that he's shown me such a golden energy. Um, Very beautiful golden energy, and he's very sweet, kind, and very ready to speak.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can he talk about different realms and dimensions? Which dimension is he in? Which realm is he in? And can you describe where he is?
And so he's first saying that he wants to explain it as the dimensions and realms as being more expansive than as levels. He says to imagine it as if you are, oh, okay, to answer your question, he is in the 12th dimension. Um, but he says in the space that he's in, he is accessing all. He is seeing everything. So he's saying that as our soul progresses, we expand. And so the ability to be able to reach information, he's showing me information. The visual that he's giving me is numbers, shapes, and all coming in from different directions on streams of light, is how he's perceiving it. And so he said, when we think about dimensions, to think of it as when you're opening a book, and think of how books have chapters and they bring you through the story. And as you're going through the book, you're filling with more information, you're understanding the story, and you might even start thinking about where it's headed or where it's going. He says the dimensional spaces are holding all of the stories of the universe. They're holding all of the information. And so the more expansive the soul is, the more expansive, or how we tune in or tap into these different spaces, we're able to capture and we're able to embody all of those chapters, those stories.
Hey, wow. Okay, so these are fungible and not so much definitive, probably.
He says that he says when it comes to how they are interacted with, he says that they are spaces. And so it's more of our consciousness, it's an energetic vibration. And so he says there is a frequency, and the frequency is what connects you to that level of information or to that degree of information. He says they are within us. The universe is within us. And so that is why when we hear going within, we are going in within these spaces as human beings, he says, to connect to these dimensional spaces or dimensional levels. He says this is the importance of healing. This is the importance of understanding ourselves and being able to embody the equivalent vibration, because as a human being, we can pull in more of our higher soul. We can pull in more of that energy because it is within us. He says it's not somewhere that we physically go to.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Can he talk about the process of crossing over? What I understand from various scriptures and from different people, that usually there is a tunnel of light and then there is life review. So this is the common understanding, but I have read so many books and listened to so many people. What I also understand is that it depends on your belief system, how, what kind of experience you have after you cross over. So can he shed some light on that?
So he's giving me the visual of a point of light. And so he's showing me being focused on a point of light, and that light starting to expand. So it's starting to open almost like a star. It's opening with these points to it. He says that he's calling it the ancestors, being met by the ancestors, being pulled through with the ancestors. He's showing me many light beings, and he says for his experience, there were some that he recognized through physical life, some that he's seeing family that he recognized. He's also saying that even though, because he's showing me losing the humanness, he says it's like being washed of the humanness. The more that he would move towards the light, is the less he would feel the humanness, but he says the connection that we feel in our heart. So it's a memory of what I'm connected to, but I'm moving towards the light. He says no fear. He is showing me and saying to you that there was a suddenness. There's a suddenness to him. So it was very quick. So he says that when he first had the awareness of being out of his body, he says there was still a human presence to him at that point. And so he's showing me that the darkness around him was more like silence, not any fear of being alone. It was just a silence. So when the point of light came, and he's saying it's slow. It wasn't a quick move for him. It was slow. And as that process took place, he says he had awareness that he was moving somewhere that was peaceful and safe. The knowing that he is bigger than the human self, because he turns and gives me the perspective of looking behind him and realizing, but that's not really me. That's not really me. And as he moves forward, and he's just saying to you, his way that he was perceiving you is he was still going towards you, because he wants me to tell you that he didn't have these thoughts of you behind him, even though he says he could feel the sense of physical loss that was taking place behind him. But your soul, your energy, which he is part of, which he is connected to, was also here. So he could feel moving towards you. He says, like your heart, it's like being inside your heart, because he could feel the safety in where he was moving. So as these points open, he shows moving and it getting brighter and brighter. And it's very interesting because as we're moving, he shows it getting a little bit faster, like stars moving beside him. And the ancestors, he says, he could feel like a welcoming. So there's a ceremony that's taking place, and that's how he wants me to say it, like a ceremony. His understanding of moving home, coming home, was something that continued to unfold through this process. He says the life review, in the way that he experienced it, as he, see if we can put this into words, is very interesting because he's showing me these circles. So the ancestors are tall lights, if I can explain this correctly. They're tall lights, and it's like we're going down a pathway with the stars going past us. And as he moves forward, there are these rings, and these rings are white looking. And as he goes through them, it's, if he zooms me in, it looks like photographs around, and he's perceiving different versions of himself throughout his life. Because as we're going through, I can hear echoes of him as a baby. I can hear crying. I can hear laughter. I can see him at a desk. I can see a light over top of him and it being dark, and he's working. And I can see him moving through this. And there's different points of time because I can see you at different ages. So I can see you with different clothing on, and what looks to be traveling or going to different locations. So he's showing me how the memories, this is how he experienced it in that space. So it was, he says, not stopping in those moments. It was more of the recollection. And he's got so much love that he's giving me because it was showing him all the beauty in life, all the beauty, right down to the leaves. So wind is blowing and I can see the leaves, and I'm being moved right towards it. Like I can smell a plant. I can smell a flower. So I'm getting all the senses. And he says it was everything. It's like being part of everything. He says that it doesn't happen generally for many souls to experience it in the linear way that we experience physical life. He says that without having the necessity of experiencing time, we're able to be part of all of it. It's all encompassing. And so that's what he's trying to get across, is this is all happening at this time. But also he's stopping me for a minute, and he's stopping me where we're all in light right now. And he's showing me being given information, and he's right up to source. And so source, the way he's showing it to me, is it's all yellow gold. So I'm not seeing any figure or anything. I'm just seeing energy. And he's being embodied. So he's filling me with light as if I'm him. And he's filling it up to show me that he was getting the information of why you're here. Welcome home. Also understanding that he's done this before, but that he is also a teacher, that he is also a guide, that he has a service to continue, and understanding that he's doing it from this perspective now. And your energy is with him. And so he's showing this is like speaking to the higher version of you. And he says there was a lot of it's like congratulatory for being at this point, that this, and he says that your purpose together is about perseverance and humanity, knowledge, wisdom, and doing anything your heart is invested in. What's good for you is going to be good for everyone in the heart. So he's filling with all of this information. Now, as he's saying this, he's saying that there is an awareness of what is happening physically as well. Because, okay, he wants to explain that his experience is his experience. He says that he had a great amount of knowledge as a physical being, but his experience in guiding and where his soul, again, we're speaking in linear terms, but where his soul already is, where his soul has been connected to, has a great deal of God's energy, source energy, to help uplift the planet. And so for him, he says, this is where I'm meant to be. And so for someone else, it could be something completely different for where they're meant to be. So he wants to express that this is how his soul has unfolded. This lifetime, he says, was planting the physical seeds to then water it and make it grow. He's showing me the sunflower, to make it grow with my mom, because the whole journey has been a partnership with her. There's a lot of nature he's also showing me. So I don't know if you connect with him giving you signs through nature quite a bit, but he's showing me a lot of like flowers and leaves, and like the wind, water. Like he's showing me all these different elements. And he says, because that is sources in everything. And so his experience was integrating with everything on a higher level. He's also saying that it was very early on in his transition where he began to come around you. And he said that your knowingness that he was around you went through different phases. So it had a, because he says it was subtle in some ways. So you were going through this process of course, processing the grief and processing your own emotions. And he shows that he was working through that with you. He was working through that because he says that in your soul, he's showing me going in the heart. And so that's where he came through to communicate with you, through the heart. But he said that at first it was challenging because the grief was there, and he understands. He knows. He's he knows. He says that she is my mother first. She's my mother. That is what needed to be cared for and loved beyond anything else. And so he stayed right in that heart place, and he's showing moving in that place to help give you comfort throughout that time. But he says it wasn't too long after that you started to recognize him. You searched for him and found him here. And he says that he would use the strength of your intuition and your connection to push you to do things.
Yeah.
He says it didn't take long to start to recognize his energy. And once you did, he
True.
says you were on a roll. You were on a roll.
He started connecting with me immediately after he crossed over, actually.
Do you get music with him? Do you get music?
Yeah. He loved music. He used to create his own music, and we used to listen to a few. So he communicates through songs also.
Yeah. He's very creative in how he communicates. He's very creative.
Yeah, he communicates through different variety of things, and I know it because it's contextual, and I can connect the dots.
Yes. He's agreeing, and he said because he's showing me his signature, like he's writing, and you know his signature, you know the ways that he does things, and he says that he enjoys having fun in the ways that he's able to communicate with you, because he's saying it's not always serious. It's not
I
always
know.
serious. I like to have fun. He says because he's lightening it up a little bit right here, and he's saying that he's got a sense of humor that hasn't changed. I still have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And he does know Eric. They know each other.
Oh, wow. I had to
Uh-huh.
look for that.
Yes. It's funny because Eric says, "How do you think this all came about? We all knew about this beforehand. We knew what we were doing." That
Wow.
they helped bring this together. So yes, they've connected with each other prior, but their souls know each other as ours do. They know each other. Um, think of it as being in the same neighborhood, Eric says.
I
Are
thought before we started recording, when we were talking for some time, I exactly had this feeling that we are from the same soul family, you and I.
yes. And they are agreeing. That's correct. They said that that's the beauty of how these things unfold, is when we follow that intuition, we follow our heart, when we walk with that intention, then those of us that are connected through the higher spaces, that are here to do many similar things in our own way, uh they're laughing, they're right beside each other, we find each other. We will always find each other because
We'll always find each
we
other. True, true.
we always, and because vibrationally, your son is saying, when our frequency, he's turning the radio channel, when our frequencies are aligned,
Yes.
we're on the same path.
Yes.
So we can see each other, we can feel each other.
True,
And that
true.
always comes together in the perfect time. Yeah.
I think that he and I belong to the same higher self.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
And that has been confirmed, yeah, because that is something that I understood quite immediately after he crossed over. And he had told me that, Mom, I will stay connected with you. Even if I take rebirth, my higher self will stay connected with you.
Yes. That's correct. Yes. Yes, he's agreeing with that. And he says that's really important for us to speak of that as well, because many people are concerned with their loved ones that they're coming back into life, that their family will not be there for them. And he's saying that, you know, our connections are coming back into life. Our connections, he says sometimes they take on different forms, but who it is that is in spirit for you, and he's speaking specifically to many mothers with children that are connected and know that they're connected with their children still after passing. And he's saying to not be concerned that they will not be there, or that they are in another body and have left you, that is not true. That the spiritual connection, along with the physical connection, and he's showing me all of the like the DNA, everything, that is eternal.
Yeah.
That is always there.
That's always
But you're correct. It was very important for him to tell you very early on that there was no disconnection, that it's not possible.
yeah, true. In between, I had this little bit of doubt whether he has taken rebirth, and I don't know for sure as of now if he has taken another incarnation. Rebirth, as in, actually, all lifetimes are in parallel. There's no such thing as past, present, future, because at the quantum level, everything is projected at the same time across lifetime.
Right.
What I understand is that I will meet him in earth terminology in future sometime,
Yes.
physically also. But I don't know whether he is going to incarnate again on earth, whether he's interested in incarnating again on earth. So is it possible that he is going to incarnate? Because what I understand also in parallel is that this entire uh, concept of earth as a school or earth as a matrix, that itself is ending, because this is like a leela, and when he was physically here also, he understood all of this, that this is all illusion, and this is, Mom, he used to tell me, Mom, this is all Maya, this is all illusion, and this is God's leela. Leela means the play of God. It's a game that we all are playing just to expand our consciousness. So, what's going to happen as per his understanding? Is the earth going to end as the cycle of incarnation and karmic cycles? Are they going to end forever as we are ascending? And is he going to incarnate at all again on earth, or he's not interested now?
So, okay, the first thing that he's saying is when it comes to an incarnation again, and he's saying that for the terms of understanding future incarnations for the brain, for the physical understanding, he says that there is not plans for there to be a future incarnation in this version of Earth. He says that this version of Earth, and he's showing it as the splitting, because yes, it is a game, and he's saying that the mind, so the energy, the consciousness of the mind, of that cycle of being trapped and the continuous coming in to this version. Yes, it is growth of the soul. Yes, it is teaching, but so many were getting caught in the heaviness.
Yes.
And so he says that it is timely, and that this is, he's saying it's the shift. So when we speak of, some will call it the new earth, the new time, he says there's so many different languages that are used to describe what's happening. But he says what's happening is the expansion of consciousness that is on a higher vibration. And he's calling it, this is what we have been told as heaven on earth, the
Yes.
understanding of heaven on earth. And
Yes.
so he says within this heaven on earth, there will still be an existence of what he described as a matrix, because he said there will always be a portion of the consciousness that exists there for the purpose of, and he says balance, a balance. But he says that the need or the desire of a soul to continue in that, it's not necessary. He says not necessary. So it's a okay, yes, he says go ahead and say it that way, is a best timeline, the best timeline, or the this version of earth is the opportunity for the evolution of a physicality that is in a higher dimension, that is more of that heaven on earth, embodying the higher soul. And so he says, Mom, that is why it's so important that we are doing this and what you are sharing, because embodying more of the higher soul, he's seeing many leaders to help the transition are ahead of the game, embodying this energy to help others see what's possible and what is taking place. Because he says God's plan, source's plan, comes through the physical experience. It's coming through that. And so he's showing the, we'll refer it to as the matrix, as this heavier energy that we are moving from. He says, some will choose to stay, some will continue that. And he says that is okay. God allows. That is okay.
That's true.
But
Yes.
he says it's not necessary. And so he says for his soul and for the purpose, lifetime will be achieved in the future for our understanding in a different place, in a different timeline. But he's saying it's not in the way that we may think. Like it's a more evolved, a more evolved. And as he's saying that, this is something that he does with you in a very different energy. So he's showing me something that already exists, as we said, because everything does exist. It
Correct.
exists in a
Yeah.
different energy. And so these focal points of your soul that are working together right now are embodying all of this energy into this moment to help elevate many people to go into that space as well. I hope that makes sense. He's giving me lots of visual, so it's a nice translation of energy.
That is true. That is true. He has actually taken me to even parallel universes. I have astral traveled with him to his realm, and
Yes,
that is way, way, way up. And
yes,
he has also taken me to parallel universes at times where he is physically there.
yes, yes. It's because what he's showing, that's right. He's showing me that these spaces, what we are speaking of, there's a physicality. So it's not only in the consciousness in the way that we're speaking of just the energy, but there is embodiment to this in these other dimensions, these parallel universes. And he's just saying, um, because he just opened up a book for me and showed me all these pages of how many there are, how much there is. He says that the mind has difficulty to comprehend
Absolutely.
how much is there. Yeah. Did he also tell you, because he's showing me like reports, like science reports. So did he tell you that science, there was going to be over the next 20 years, like upgrade in science in what the understanding of parallel universes and a lot of that? He says that it's a groundbreaking time right now because he's showing me all of these papers and there's documentation where it's coming out, where it is grounded in more science and spirituality, where it's got more of a marrying of the two to also assist a mass amount of people in understanding.
Yeah, that's one of my soul's mission, and I have already incorporated one foundation in his name and one company. My mission is to integrate science and spirituality and start a startup.
He's saying that this is what is called the new human. This
Yes.
is the new human.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I need help for that because I understand that I will be guided by extraterrestrials, and the
Yes.
disclosure is going to be either this year or next year. But what is happening is, I understand, and he has been guiding me for 3 or 4 different life purposes because being a multi-dimensional being, I have many soul
Yes.
missions and life purposes as I have
Yes.
understood. So one
Yes.
is that he wants me to write another book. One I wrote in 2023 and published it. He wants me to write another book on multidimensionality and explaining how different dimensions work and as realms work. But I want to master astral travel and channeling for actually getting that experience and then writing it.
Yes. So he says that this is a he's coming into your body, so vibrationally, because he shows he's connected within you. So are you having experiences where you're feeling more of the presence in your body?
Yeah.
Because what he's saying is speaking right directly through you. So melding with the consciousness and speaking through you, and he's saying that, so voice, so you're going to be speaking through voice. You're going to be speaking your son's words through your voice, because he says that the channeling is taking a few different stages for you of the written word, speaking in the way that I am right now, channeling, and then embodying it like a trance channeling. What you're learning with him, you're going to teach to others. And he's showing me others that are connecting with their children, with their relatives, like helping them to embody mm, their angels, so their angel family, to
Hmm.
help them connect also, because there's a lot of leaders that come to you and will continue to come to you. And the way he's showing it to me is the information that flows through you. Uh, he's showing me like a ring, like a circle of leaders that are connected into the same soul family, that are going to be in different parts of the world, that are going to start to spread that information as well. So there's quite a network that's coming from the two of you outwards.
Wow. Yeah, he used to tell me when he was physically here also that, Mom, you will have your own big community and you have a lot of work to do uh, across the world.
He was because he shows me his connection to source energy. He was channeling energy through him. while in the physical. Like there was energy that was flowing through him, and he says, did he have visions? Like did
Yes.
he see things? Yeah. My goodness. Because he embodied a lot of his soul in the physical. Very strong. He's showing me like feeling things, seeing things. When you just said that he's showing me that that's true, that he was able to see what the possibilities and what was to come.
Oh, yeah. He understood the multiverse, multiple dimensions, the matrix, and source, everything when he was just 17 years old over here. And he had experienced transcendental states here when he was physically here.
Yes. Yes. And that was because he says there was so much that was given to you for you to experience through him while he was physical, because so much of it has come back. He says, like, so when he has these conversations with you now, things that you're writing about, you're able to reflect back and pick up on some of the things that he was embodying in the physical. It's amazing. He's just showing me how everything at the same time. So it's how he's just showing me, like, yes, Michelle, you're thinking about it as this happened, but it's all at the same time. It's all coming in at the same time. Very purposeful. Yes. Very
Yeah,
purposeful
yeah.
life.
We used to have 2 hours conversations really every day, and it's quite unusual for a 17-year-old teen to have this depth kind of
Yes.
conversations.
Yes. And he says that this um leaving the earth at his age was purposeful. Like that was his time to leave. He says that he's speaking as a soul, because he shows me um our life. He's showing me like these little so when I see energy and I see how everything is connected, they'll show me all of these. They look like micro dots that are alive. They're moving all over the place. So he shows me there was space created, and that was just the space of moving, because he says it was a focus. It's like focusing into the soul, but that was his time so that he could expand the energy through you from his soul perspective.
Yeah, what I understood, and it was a shock for me, frankly. It's a huge trauma,
Yes.
and it has taken me a
Yes.
long time.
Yeah.
But I consciously worked on myself and healed myself, and I'm still healing through it. But he told
Yeah.
me that, Mom, this was our soul contract, and what I understood is that his vibration became so high, and probably his body was not sufficient to handle that kind of vibration, and
That's correct.
this entire thing became too dense for him to handle.
Yes. That is absolutely correct. When he showed me his transition at that time, a lot of times they will show me, that's how they validate. So when I meet with people, they validate in the body. So how he validated it to me was the shock. It was the quick. That's how he did it. Um, and he is saying the healing, um, the healing that you have done and what you have worked through. He says that many on earth have such great difficulty being able to move past that trauma. And he's saying that you were able to bring through so much of Source and of yourself through Source with his help to help you, but he's commending and just saying that he has recognized how hard you have worked and how much you have done to bring yourself to this time. It's very honorable, very honorable. And he says it with such love, because he says that from the perspective over here, like this is a grand celebration. Like this is like he's my eyes are watering. He's just, this is not as human beings any easy task that we can even put into words to others. And so he just really wants me to express that appreciation as his mom and just how proud he is of you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor having you here, Michelle.
Same.
And
Thank you
thank you so much. Thank you, Arnav. Thank you, Eric, and thank you all the angels and the source. And thank you so much for so beautifully channeling all of them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And your son says he loves you so much. Wants to make
I
sure
love
you
him.
know.
I love him so much. He's the one who taught me unconditional love, actually.
Yes. He's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching and listening in wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we all are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and our guests. And if you resonate with me, do subscribe to my channel and do let us know how you find our episodes. Thank you so much. Lots of love.